Okay, what's up? What's up? Here today, we're going to be doing the sixth episode of High Minds. This is going to be a cannabis slash martial arts podcast. Honestly, we're going to be covering a lot more topics, so let's just not even box ourselves into anything. We're going to be a podcast that talks about a wide range of stuff. So be prepared. There's going to be a lot of different things coming in the near future, but as you can see, we're definitely in the very, very early days of this podcast. This is definitely one of the episodes that is going to be at the very beginning. As you guys can see, it's obviously the sixth episode. That was a stupid thing to say, but it's labeled High Minds for a reason. This is definitely going to be mainly cannabis talk, but it's also going to be stuff that is relating to martial arts and other interesting stuff. So let's just get into it. Today, what we're going to be talking about is how collaboration is key to the development in any brand or business in general. I think that what we're seeing in the cannabis field at the moment is everyone wants to be the guy at the top of the ladder. Everyone wants to be the guy right now. Everyone wants to be the person that gets talked about. So it's becoming this weird game of everyone's trying to compete with designs, everyone's trying to compete with things that really do not matter whatsoever. And it's just muddying the waters for what is okay and what's acceptable. It's just a very weird scene at the moment. But with this being said, this is also really giving a great opportunity for any brand that wants to collaborate with another brand, or maybe even just some up and coming people who haven't even established themselves yet. If they do it properly, if they start collaborating with like-minded individuals and they actually are able to get something going properly, then they have a great opportunity right now, just because of how divided the market is in just a crazy way. To be honest, what we're seeing is there is just a lot of nonsense going around, and people are really focused on the things that aren't really going to help the consumer or even be good for the consumer to enjoy at all. So let me get back on track. What I really think is going to be essential is maybe even some smaller batch growers collaborating. It'd be dope to see some smaller batch growers collaborating so they could maybe even meet higher demands. If they were able to do this, I think that this is a great way for them to go up against a bigger company or a actual like tobacco brand or something that's actually going to have a lot of money. It's going to be very hard for any small brand to do that on their own. But if they start teaming up and excuse me, if they start teaming up and actually going about it appropriately, then I think that we really could see the legal market have a tough time. But as we see right now, for the most part, the only market there is right now is the small batch, or the like so-called small batch, and then the white market. And then there is obviously some people that are kind of like still going to like these cheaper connects that are in the black market, but that is kind of dying off for the most part. It seems like those people are usually going to the dispensaries because they think it's cleaner. But with that being said, honestly, this is going to be a very difficult way to, or it's going to be a difficult time actually going up against these bigger brands that have lots of money to actually just throw at each project. But as I mentioned, in my humble opinion, I really think the only way for these smaller brands or smaller grows to actually do this is by teaming up and finding a way to get in where you fit in. So, with this being said, if you aren't a grower, if you are just someone who is a trapper, if you're someone who is out here hustling and doing your thing, then you might have to just find a way to get in where you fit in. At the end of the day, I think that realistically, there is going to be a very, very good chance that we could overcome the legal market and really overcome the nonsense that's getting spewed out in that side. So I do think the education of the consumer is essential. I do think the collaborations of the brands and the growers is essential, but there's a lot more that goes into it, of course. There's a lot more. It's not just that easy, but I do think realistically this is something that is possible. I think that this is something that people just aren't giving themselves enough credit for. They're not necessarily believing in themselves, and I don't know what that is, but with all of this being said, I definitely think that there's going to be a lot of growth and there's going to be a lot of evolution in the market, whether it's something that we're able to see over the next year is going to be something that's going to be questionable, but I definitely am really actually expecting some positive things to happen to the market overall. I think that what we're seeing right now is a very much needed thing to actually educate the consumers. And with that being said, I do think the consumers are actually in a time right now where they're actually open to being educated. I think that now more than ever, whether it's through Snoop Dogg quitting weed or whatever it is, like people are actually open to being educated now, which is dope. We need to take advantage of that. We need to educate, and we actually got to do it properly where we're actually helping the people and not just helping ourselves. So I really do think that there's a lot of positive that's coming for the market in just an overall picture. I think that, as I mentioned, this is a much needed time. So I do really appreciate anyone who is actually going about this appropriately, and the people that are taking advantage of the market right now, you you guys are the scum of the earth. I'm just gonna say that right now because there is so many people out here that are trying to be even fake influencers. I'm not gonna call out names, but if you pay attention to my Instagram, you probably know who I'm hinting at right now. There's people who are pretending to be fake influencers and just taking advantage of the market. So it's sad to see, but the transparency is becoming something that people seem to actually be attracted towards, which sometimes I've put this quote up a lot, but sometimes it is easier to trick a man than it is to tell a man he's been tricked. So it's definitely a rough period right now where we're having to show the people that they've been tricked, but it's essential and it's much needed. So I'm not going to keep babbling on. I appreciate anyone who watches this. This was a short episode, but this was a much, much needed one. I do think that these are going to be very essential for just helping the community in the bigger picture. So whether it's not getting any views right now, I don't care. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep building. I'm someone who is not going to I'm not going to be defeated easy. So much respect and much love to anyone who watches these. I appreciate you. Stay blessed.